Rosalind Russell, and I'm the founder of RStarFoundation, which is primarily working with women in Nepal. And we've been doing this for about 21 and a half years. And just to make it very clear, we're a volunteer organization. None receive payment for anything. The board, the people that do work, we all are volunteers. And by the way, if you end up, after listening to this, to choose to donate to us, you're going to feel really good. So by all means, join in with us and feel good. And you can do a donation if you want. I'm putting it out ahead of time at www.rstarfoundation.org. Well, actually, before RStarFoundation became known for doing the work that we do in Nepal, I was doing something else, and we refined the name to go ahead and remain, which the R, the initial, actually means hour, and then star reflects the starring, shiny work that we do in Nepal. In 1987 and 1988, I traveled around the world because I wanted to, and I was doing a spiritual journey, and ended up in India. And after 3 weeks of being there, I actually got pretty depressed with the poverty that I witnessed, with the degradation of humans and that. So I went to a travel agent. They had travel agents then. And I went to one and I said, where can I go that's not too far that will be interesting? And the man directed me to Nepal. Little did I know it was an underdeveloped country. India's third world. So I was actually going to a lesser country in the sense of economics, and off I went. I arrived and it was just, I was a tourist and trotting around. And in 2015, you might remember the archaeological buildings that were there that were demolished. They've been rebuilt since, by the way. So anyway, in that area, I was touring about and it was beautiful. These gorgeous buildings and the history going back to the 15th century. Well, there were 30 little, what they look like ruffians to me, kids that were there, chattering, bakshish, give me your money, and in broken English, they were trying to tell me that they would show me the country and be my tour guide. And I'm thinking, no, thank you. But there was one young man, 11 and a half years old, I learned later, Rabindra, and he insisted in perfect English, although it did have a British accent, that he could show me the beauty of his country. Well, what he didn't know is I'd been trekking the day before, and I had seen 2 children walking on the trail I was on. At the time, I thought they were 7 and 8 years old. I've come to realize they were 13 and 14, 15 years old. Impoverished countries are often with malnutrition, so you're smaller. They were small, but what was interesting is when those 2 children stopped staring at me, because I looked tall, blonde, kind of weird for them. They turned around and they were walking away. And in the bottom of the pair of jeans that they were wearing, there wasn't the pocket on the bottom, on either side. Their little brown buns were showing. And it was like, that's poverty. Yet they had the pride to stay there in those pants. And then they journeyed on their way on a small goat trail. So here's Rabindra trying to tell me he's going to show me the beauty and magnificence of his country. And I'm going, good luck. How are you going to do that with such poverty? But we did agree that after he told me, I can have all these boys leave. And I'm thinking, good, because I don't want to be the ugly American and say, go away, shoo, I don't want to talk to you, be irritating to them. I'm in their country. So I did agree with Rabindra when he said he could have them all go without being upsetting to them. I said, sure. And he did. And they all left. And there we were to speak every day after his school classes in a very prestigious school in Kathmandu. We would gather together and he would show me the beauty of his country. He would tell me stories that were absolutely inviting and they were amazing. But the biggest thing of all was I bonded with this young child. I was definitely younger than now, but oh my. It was a great journey with him. And then I left. We stayed in touch, which was very difficult. and it was by mail, which took at least a month for any letter to get back and forth. And eventually, we were on computer. So there we are, computering. He was doing it before me, but I got it. And we were able to stay in touch. And he told me stories that, to me, they were horrific. But during that time of his talking with me on computers, and today he actually confirmed that we have over 3,000 something emails that he has saved. And I'm going, oh, my history, oh my, his history, our history. Anyhow, it was so interesting to hear the story of when his sister, his oldest sister, was getting married and how she cried all the time because she was removed. Women moved to the village of the husband, and it was an arranged marriage. And you just have to hope that both sets of parents did the right thing. I say parents, it's actually the fathers that do the arranging, which still goes on today, but it is changing. Meantime, his sister is married very well and has a happy marriage, of which I see a lot of the arranged marriages ending up fabulous. But who would know? But imagine, because ours start with chemistry. We get all excited about that. But theirs begin with the main ingredient to keep a marriage together, which is respect. So they do that. Anyway, Rabindra and I stayed in touch, and the reason that I went back to Nepal is I accidentally said, oh yeah, see you next year, because he was always asking, when are you coming back? I was never going back. And there I was caught in a lie, because that very day that he said, but you said you were coming this year. And they had just had the coup over, had they had that coup? Yes, the coup had happened there with the king being killed and all. And there on the computer, out flew tears from my computer. I knew that I had said, I'm coming back. I don't lie, so it made it really difficult, and I knew I had to write that situation immediately. I did book a ticket for a year later, and it was like, oh my. So that gave me a lot of planning time. What will I do on my way back there? What kind of a gift will I take? Do I stay with the family? My neighbor said, do not stay with the family. You have no idea how they live. Don't do that. And it was sage advice without question. So that's how we began. And I did go on over there with a really good idea of what to do, but I did a lot of research, a lot of homework, looking at other nonprofits that are wonderful, and learned what I might want to do, and determined that gift of goats would be good. Ravinder actually thought it was a really stupid idea, and he let me know several times. I'm sure in those 3,500 and something emails, it would show up there. But by the time I had been given money for what I believed the cost of the goats to be with their inoculations and ear tags, it ended up that I had 50 goats. He then got excited. He caught on to the fire that was burning within me by this time of what we could do. And sure enough, he got excited, and we went forward with nothing we knew about. With the goats, it was to lift them, the women. When I speak of them, I'm usually speaking with the women, to lift the women economically. Rural village women are those that I work with. But mind you, for me to get into a village, I have to go through the men. And they decide whether it's a good thing for them to allow me to be there. It was very interesting convincing the men that this is a good idea that I have before you. And I'm going to, for those of you that are married, I am going to make your wives happy. And you know that when your wife is happy, so are you. I knew when that translation happened because every man smiled. It is universal, guys. You haven't figured out how to keep us all excited and happy. And I promised them I would do that. So in return visits, let me tell you, they come out first because I have been able to accomplish that. And they've let me know. And I love it because it's a patriarchal country. And to honor me when I'm at a meal where I eat with the men before the women, which of course I found very strange. But, they honored me in a very proper way for their culture. All my life I have enjoyed lifting women. There's no question that we need to lift women. We're valuable. We're a very good investment. With 8.1 billion people in the world, half of them being females, they're usually undersupported and depressed, repressed, oppressed, all of those different things. Not particularly good. Lifting women has been a passion within my life, and I continue it, not just in Nepal. If I meet women here on a one-to-one basis, I'm happy to share what I can, and if it works, good. And I'm aware of support makes a difference for women, and we get out there and do things. This isn't to say I don't like men. I love men. They're so handsome. So I enjoy working with men, and as I said, I have to get permission from the men before I can even go in the village. So I like lifting women because we're incredible. We can do great things. Tell you the truth, I didn't even think that they didn't like me. It didn't occur to me that there would be any opposition. I knew what we were doing was going to be good, and I knew that they were going to like it, so I never had a doubt. That could be because of naivete. I would agree that that's a very strong possibility. But that's how I worked. I didn't see it negative. And I did have prompting. I had Rabindra, who was constantly feeding me about the culture, which I knew nothing about. I mean, being a tourist in '88 in his country hardly taught me everything I needed to know. It just introduced me to lovely, beautiful people. And the country itself is gorgeous. But where isn't it gorgeous in our world? But Nepal is where I get to work. Is that we gifted 2 pregnant or in-season goats to women in groups of 25 of all castes. That alone is considered social change. The women would come out and tap me on the shoulder. Then I had to get translations of what was happening. I can't join that group. There are such and such a caste in there. I can't join that group. There are those in there. And I just said, oh, I understand. And please, when you change your mind, I want you to know you're invited to return and receive 2 goats. In other words, I was saying, you don't join the way I've told you that we're doing it. We're not doing it. You don't get the goats. They wanted the goats. And what that did was mean that the women worked together. Here they've been living next door to each other, elbow to elbow, walking in front of each other's homes day after day, going to the watering place where they gather their water, wash their clothes themselves, and they didn't talk to each other. In fact, as a little aside, I'm at the watering place, having walked down there with the women. Nobody was with me to translate, and it was silent. There were 35 women at least there. It was silent. I'm a female. We don't do that. We talk. We visit. I just figured, oh, it's water. It's a holy and sacred place that I am. So I just stayed there and did, prayers and things and just watched and observed. The truth is that they were different castes and they couldn't talk to each other, which Rabindra fell off a small stool in a house that we were staying in the village, laughing, thinking that indeed I thought that this was a sacred place. He says, well, it's sacred, it is water, but no, Mom, you got it wrong. So it was pretty interesting. So the women joined together and they began to help each other. If there was an illness or something, they would talk to each other. They talked about women issues within their homes, and it didn't matter what their caste was. I did notice that they didn't go into one another's homes. That would be far too much for going on beyond their culture at that time. But they certainly did interact and appreciate and care about one another. It was amazing for me to witness because I held that position of if you don't join a mixed group, I'm not working with you. It's just that simple. And of course, it was probably very annoying to them. But they did it, and it did work. And none of the other villages years later, after that, they didn't ask. They didn't give me any challenge. They all joined. And not all villages, by the way, are mixed. They could be one caste. So it's a variable within that area that I'm discussing here with you. One of the funny things for me, and Rabindra and I were laughing about it this morning while we were speaking on the phone, I always thought I was brown. I grew up, I thought I was brown because I was browner than the rest of the people in my family. And and I've gotten whiter for some reason. But anyhow, we're talking, and I said something in Nepal about being brown, and they all laughed at me. And it was like, why are you laughing at me? And they said, you're not brown, you're white. All my life, I lived as if I believed I was brown, seriously. So again, today we were guffawing over the fact that I had it wrong. I've always been white, and I didn't know it. I thought I was brown. So I had no cultural barriers, and I really haven't had any biases that are profoundly important whatsoever. I've always thought people are to be loved, and they're loving, and they're incredible. So for me, it wasn't an issue.
What would you say to those people out there that may differ with you on that situation?
I would say that they needed to do something else. They need to get a grip that on an operating table, our hearts are in the same places, our livers and kidneys, etc., and our blood is about the same color. So we need to kind of pull it in and get a grip on. We're really the same. We have all these wonderful frostings on the cake of each person in the sense of being a little bit different by our appearance, but we're the same. We want housing, we want food, we want safety for our children. We want to be appreciated and cared about and loved. We're all the same. Well, there are many. I have ever so many different memories because, again, 21 and a half years, I've got lots of memories. But one that pulls up because I'm not one that cries very often. My friends get annoyed. They think I'm not showing my emotions because I'm not crying. And it's like, I don't need to cry. I'm going to have emotions without crying. I might leak. But I was crying 2 days after we passed out 200 goats to 2 different villages. An accomplishment Rabindra and I did. Again, knowing nothing, we did it. And I was profoundly touched by, wow, we actually did this incredible thing. And so I was crying and crying. It was successful. My neighbors had told me, you're an idiot, you can't do it. They're going to steal the money from you, and we've wasted our time with you, and all of that. And so I had all of that. There's a little bit of pride going on, but haha, we did do it. I did work through it with Rabindra, and there were other people that were certainly involved in that. But it was absolutely profound to know that we had accomplished it. But then the other part of my crying, that was hysterical crying. I don't remember ever doing it before. I'm leaving a family of people that I fell in love with in a country that I enjoyed. Even though I couldn't understand the language, I understood their hearts, and that was sufficient for me to be able to work and live with. And so that's one of the more profound ones. I'm going to give you another one because I can. Red is one of my favorite colors. I'm up and giving my first invitation to the women in one village first and saying, this is what we propose. This is what we offer to you. And the women on an emotional level, they'd heard all these stories before. We hear stories, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and then they never come back. Well, it's hard terrain to get around in, so I understand it. And it's expensive to use cars and things to get around. The roads were heinous at the time, too, when I began in 2003. So I'm standing up to give my first, this is what we're doing, and they were totally dubious of us. But the thing is that we did do it. But when I'm standing up, and I was up on like a shelf on a house, was not very big, and talking with them, and there I saw, out across about a couple hundred women, all red. I was like, yahoo, this is a good color. And that is the favorite color for, the women to wear. So my eyes were always feasting and excited about the brilliant colors. Because in this country and all over Europe and that, colors are played down. And black is often the main color. Not my favorite, but red is. And they combine colors. Over here, I have people look at me like, you can't wear those colors together. Over there, nobody ever said, you look funny. So fabulous. That was another, memory that comes up for me that was at the very beginning that stayed for every village I went to. And it was fun to pack my suitcase. I could have turquoise that would go with red, purple, and different greens that I like with my camo pants. I certainly don't look glamorous when I'm over there. This is an unusual outfit for me to wear unless I'm going to a wedding or a particular event. Otherwise, I am in a motorcycle helmet and camouflage clothes and about 9 layers of clothing because I go in the winter, which is when the bugs are less available. I don't want bugs. And the rain doesn't come. It's the dry season. I don't want to go through mud. So, and the humidity, you never get comfortable. But in the winter, all I have to do is put on lots of layers, go on out, and during the day, it gets very comfortable, and I unlayer. And then as it gets cooler in the evening, I'll put more clothes back on. I can tell you that one is, I am optimistic as I see these incredible women are also. I've seen how their lives have been directly affected by receiving 2 goats initially. And by the way, they are to pass on 2 goats of equal, and we take pictures of them so there's no cheating, of equal size to another village that they collectively, if there are, say, 5 different pods of 25 women, they all agree. So I'm teaching democracy. And by the way, when I was doing this, the Maoists were in control. And they would stop me and interrogate me at gunpoint. That was exciting. Not. Anyhow, I would tell them democracy things such as vote for what you want, do this and do that. And we got agreement that the women would pass on 2 goats and start another village, and that gave them the idea that they could help others. That was big. It was profound. It was exciting for them as well as for me to see this fulfillment. So it became something that continued to expand. And by the way, up until 2015, which is a marker because of the 2 devastating earthquakes, which were very primary in the area that we worked in, we had kept count and record. We had over 15,000 goats that were credited to what we were doing. And after the earthquakes, there wasn't any way to get records going back again, and I haven't done it, but the goats continue to birth, so we know that there are many, many, many more. And I am leaving in November to Nepal again, and we will be gifting goats to a chosen village or 2. We haven't confirmed that, and we're ready to do that going forward. It's certainly when I met them, it was bleak. It didn't look like there was anything going on, but that, was more on an emotional thing. But absolutely, women are lifting and going forward because what happened with these groups of 25 women, they began to get a voice. They could vote on things that they wanted to do with the money that they earned communally. They could vote on who got a loan from the microfinancing that we furnished them, which we did not take the percentage. And at the time that we began the microfinancing, the loans were 185%. Imagine that one. Actually, you can because our credit cards are looking like that now if you do it for annual. But our capping is 10%. Our loans were wanted. Well, guess what? Only the women could borrow the money. Their husbands couldn't, their brothers, their fathers, nobody but the women. That gave them extreme prominence and status and worthiness. Status was lifted when they had goats, income producing, that changed their lives, their world. And it changed mine to be able to observe their power and their strength to do these things. Awareness that women are remarkable. We are incredible. That doesn't take away from a man. Men are also remarkable and incredible. We have differences in how we run our lives. For instance, men absolutely take care of their families. That's their number 1 job, and they do it extremely well. Women take care of their family, their husband, their brothers or sisters, uncles, father, all of that. But then they expand out and they take care of their villages. They take care of the world. So women are profound, and again, women are a great investment. The most proud of, gosh, there's so many things. I'm so pleased with the amount of people that I've been able to meet, not only in Nepal, but on this side of the world, to understand the remarkableness of hearts and the compassion that people hold for those that they'll never meet. The donors that we have, they're never going to meet the people that they're benefiting. That's not going to happen. It's not probable that they're going to go over there. So that's just, it's a pretty amazing, incredible, fabulous journey that I've been able to witness and record to a fair degree with pictures, etc. It's just wonderful. All of us at this time, especially right now, are we not extremely concerned about peace in our world? I would say we are. And in 2009 at the Vancouver Peace Summit, the Dalai Lama spoke. One of the things that he said, and it's coming up again because I actually got a notification from another foundation that I participate in, and it was right in there. Oh, guess what? You know, the Dalai Lama said, Western women will save the world. If I've misquoted it by a word, excuse me, but that's close enough. It means that we're going to bring peace to the world. So my interest, personally, is that we continue doing this work because I want to be part of this change in our world that does need love. It does need peace. And I'm going to say, peace in the world isn't something that we do outside of ourselves. We do it first within. If you don't have peace within your own heart, you're probably not going to be effective outside there, taking steps to say, oh, let's have peace when you don't have it yourself. So let me say again, you're welcome to go to our website and join in and feel really good at our RStarFoundation.org. And I invite you to ask any questions at any other time, any way you like, because I might have an answer. Thank you very much. Namaste.